Welcome back, everybody. Time to go behind the headlines. And in today's story, I was taking a look at this news from the World Anti-Doping Agency, which has raised its threshold for a positive marijuana test. This is going to significantly reduce the chances that an athlete competing in the Olympic stage at the world level is going to fail because of cannabis. Under the anti-doping policy enacted in 2008, cannabinoids are considered recreational and not performance enhancing. Unless you're in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, then it's a whole nother thing. Now, on May 12th, this was just yesterday, they met with their executive committee and foundation board in Montreal, and World Anti-Doping Agency came up with some final revisions, which will be updated in 2015. So this is going to go in effect in 2015. And they're increasing. Check this. Now, understand we are talking about THC-CoO, or carboxy-THC, the metabolite in your pee. This has nothing to do with what you hear in Washington State or other states as far as THC in blood. Whole nother thing. But what they're going to do is they're going to raise the standard from 15 nanograms per milliliter to 150 nanograms per milliliter. This means athletes who use marijuana weeks or months before an event would be far less likely to test positive under the revised threshold than those who would use the drug in the hours or days before competition. 10 times greater threshold, because the World Anti-Doping Agency is tired of having to boot great athletes just because they smoked a joint a week or a month ago. Just makes no sense. And if it were up to them, it sounds as if marijuana wouldn't even be on the list at all. You may have heard of Dick Pound. Yes, that's his name. He's a very famous sports lawyer, Dick Pound. He was an attorney who was the World Anti-Doping Agency's initial chief. He was the first head of this agency. And in 2003, when they made the original prohibited substances list, he was really ambivalent toward it. His quote, "From a sports perspective, I was rather ambivalent toward marijuana. As we morphed into the World Anti-Doping Agency, the USA was very keen to have it included." End quote. Yes, it's American sports officials that lobbied the world, just like, Anslinger lobbied the world back in the 60s to pass all of those awful treaties, lobbied the world to go along with America's prohibition of marijuana to send a message to the kids, because by God, we couldn't have our athletes like Michael Phelps winning 22 gold medals and then showing up in a bong photo. Now, in March, when they were during the consulting phase on this 2015 code review, Edward Jurith, who is the senior counsel for the Drug Czar's office, urged that marijuana remain on the list of prohibited substances. And on another level, at the NCAA level, the U.S. college level, rather than increasing their threshold by a factor of 10, they've reduced it by a factor of 3. The NCAA is reducing their positive threshold from 15 nanograms per milliliter to 5 nanograms per milliliter. It'll be impossible to be a college athlete and not get caught on your pee test unless you're really, really good at doing the flush and detox. Just two different directions the world and the U.S. are going here. I say let them smoke.
It's madness, people.
Absolute madness. What better way for an athlete to relax with an anti-inflammatory, anti-stress, anti-anxiety?
Neuroprotective.
Yeah, especially for the football players. And all these guys with concussive head injuries, they could use this neuroprotectant.
Yeah.
Well, we better use a little neuroprotectant ourselves. We'll be right back.
He would send you South Carolina, then you know you're talking to that reefer man.